If you like a good movie and love a tasty treat, you could win one of 3 HD flat-screen TVs. This is your chance to snack, watch, and win. Buy a 3-pack of Act 2 popcorn or a 10-ounce Crunch and Munch, plus a Hershey's milk chocolate or cookies and cream bar. Write your name and number on the back of the receipt. Drop it off at Pritchard's, Robinson Road, or Caleb Bahamas, Marathon Mall. Then order a movie from Rev TV On Demand, Channel 500, for your chance to snack, watch, and win. Enter today. Promotion ends August 30th.
The Foreign Affairs Minister fires back at the F&M for its serious allegations.
I found the comments of the Leader of the Opposition to be sickening.
Police were busy overnight, 2 murders recorded, and a young life lost in a traffic accident.
Right now, this is shocking to us.
The Haitian president calls for unity among Haitians and Bahamians. NEMO officials prepare hurricane shelters for possible storms, plus LGA Maritime Academy to open next year.
In January, we will have a call for students.
We've got those stories and more for you tonight. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NB12 Weekend. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Sunday for NB12 Weekend. While commending the Bahamian people for their patriotism and standing in support of the Bahamas during a trying time, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell is crying shame on the Free National Movement for what he calls allying with protesters seeking to defame the country's reputation. Mitchell held a press briefing this afternoon to give an update on the progress of investigations into abuse claims at the Carmichael Road Detention Center and relay what steps will be taken next to defend the country. Paige McCartney reports.
Mitchell is insisting opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis apologize to the Bahamian people for what he says was standing against the country when it was being attacked by outsiders.
I found the comments of the Leader of the Opposition to be sickening. He has embarrassed and shamed himself by siding with outsiders against the Bahamas. It is a serious error of judgment, and it is clear that he is in over his head. He would do well and be advised to admit this egregious error and apologize to the Bahamian people.
Mitchell called Minnis' support of claims that at least 5 Cuban detainees were abused grossly stupid, suggesting that if Minnis were in the same position of authority as he is, the F&M leader would buckle at the knees and speak softly to those threatening the reputation of the Bahamas.
Dr. Minnis' chairman, Darren Cash, says that my tone was belligerent. Well, bless you, my son. By Jove, you've gotten it. Clarence Bain warned us to stay clear of weak-kneed, apologetic Bahamians. If Dr. Minnis and Mr. Cash wish to fall into that category, that is for them, but not for Ed Mitchell. If Mr. Cash and Dr. Minnis were heading the Bahamas in the face of these defamatory statements about the Bahamas, they would have been speaking softly on their knees begging. I have a voice, and I will use it to defend the Bahamas. I will speak strongly, firmly, truthfully, in a principled manner, and I will stand up for the Bahamas. That's me.
The minister said it's one thing to have bipartisan standoffs on internal matters of the nation, but when issues go beyond the shores, all leaders of political parties should be united. Minnis last week insinuated that government was covering up findings of its incomplete, unreleased report into claims of abuse at the detention center. However, Mitchell insists that government is not complete with the investigations and is in the process of settling terms of reference of the review of the investigation, which would encompass newer claims of abuse involving pictures currently circulating of the back wounds allegedly of a Cuban national abused at the detention center, as well as new claims that Defense Force officers helped detainees record a staged video showing abuse by lending them their uniforms to portray officers. Mitchell said he hopes to see that review complete by week's end.
I just spoke to the judge this morning, and we're trying to get the terms of reference worked out within the week. I know there is a cleric that they're trying to get to join the review. But as I understand it, that individual is out of town at the moment, so we're just trying to get that settled. But we're hoping that within 30 days of the review being settled, which should be sometime this week, that we should have a report.
Furthermore, Mitchell said Amnesty International alleged last week that the F&M government never released the report of an investigation it conducted in 2009 into similar claims being made now.
With this issue, and in so many things in our systems, life is cyclical. I mean, it appears that every so often this issue pops up. So here's the headline. This is the 13th of March, 2009 now, when Dr. Minnis was the minister in office. What does it say? Detention center reports withheld. Yeah. So I've seen reports on the file. Whether this is the report that Amnesty is talking about, I don't know.
But Mitchell said additional steps are being taken from here to address the issue. This week, he will travel to the Bahamas Embassy in Washington, the consulate office in Atlanta, the United Nations Mission of the Bahamas in New York, and then the consulate office in Miami to brief staff of recent events, to introduce new ambassadors, and to discuss with the U.S. State Department proposals to deal with current issues.
A negotiating team will leave the Bahamas as early as the coming weekend to meet with the Cuban authorities in Havana with a view to settling the modalities of how there can be a quicker turnaround of migrants to Cuba. And we expect that a new agreement will be in place shortly. I myself will meet the Cuban foreign minister in Grenada in early September to discuss these matters directly. We began discussions with the acting foreign minister when the national security minister and myself met in Havana with him earlier in the month.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
Meantime, the ministry is addressing the physical state of the detention center. Mitchell said work is being done on constructing a new dormitory after fires at the center in 2006 and again in 2008, which cut the capacity of the detention center by 50%. Mitchell pointed out that the last Ingram administration did nothing to replace the dorms, and the government had to begin to rebuild them when it came into office last year. According to the minister, the project is well on its way, with construction now up to the bell course. But for now, he said the facility is being restored so that it is in better condition.
The facility is being repaired, and in a few weeks, the Ministry of Health will be supervising an effort to sanitize and paint the existing dorms. This will require those who are detained at the detention center to be housed temporarily in the prison until the sanitation is done. We are seeking to ensure that these numbers are at a minimum.
Mitchell said there are currently just over 40 detainees at the detention center. About half of them are Cuban nationals. Mitchell said the mandate is to always ensure that the facility is as empty of inhabitants as possible. While the Cuban ambassador to the Bahamas has been fairly quiet publicly on allegations of Cuban torture and abuse, primarily because he was on leave and in Havana, Mitchell said both governments have been discussing the matter cordially.
They, in fact, initiated the idea of the migration talks, and we responded to it. We discovered that in 1998 there was a protocol signed which would have allowed the Bahamas to repatriate migrants directly back to Cuba. But what it anticipated was that the modalities had to be worked out between the two states. Well, since that agreement was signed in 1998, not a single thing was done. So that's what we're trying to get going now.
Mitchell added that the Panamanian government is still willing to accept those Cuban nationals who qualify for political asylum. Police believe a robber or robbers shot a man in the head and left him to die on the floor of his home. The murder of the 61-year-old Ludlow Street man is one of two that occurred overnight. Police say it was concerned neighbors who discovered the man's body around 10 last night after they noticed something suspicious at the victim's home.
His door to the apartment was discovered open today, and when neighbors were leaving, I noticed when they got back home this evening that the door was still open. They decided to make a check and then raise an alarm and call the police.
Officers and emergency medical services personnel arrived at the Ludlow Street apartment just off of Montrose Avenue late last night, where they found the man lying on the floor of his apartment with a bullet wound to the head. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, said investigators believe robbery was the motive.
Our investigation reveals that sometime during the night, last night, the deceased came home, and we believe at that time he was accosted and robbed and shot.
Ludlow Street residents watched quietly as their neighbor's body was removed from his apartment and taken away from the crime scene. Detectives searched the home and the surrounding area for clues, but police are still appealing for the public's assistance to help them catch the person or persons responsible. Then at 6:50 this morning, investigators were called to another murder scene, this one at Flint Street. A man was found dead in a park in that area. He was also shot to death. EMS personnel found a single gunshot wound to the unidentified body and pronounced the victim dead at the scene. Investigations are ongoing in both of these murders. If you have any information on these latest killings, police are asking you to call 919 Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS or any of the numbers shown on your screen. That makes 3 murders recorded this weekend. Based on our news team's records, the murder count now stands at 72. A young man was also killed early this morning after he was ejected from a vehicle in a traffic accident just in front of the entrance to Sandyport Marina Village. Family members of 31-year-old D'Amico Knowles met shards of glass and mangled metal when they arrived at the gruesome scene shortly after hearing the bad news. Police tell us that Knowles was the passenger in a blue Nissan Maxima that had just left Sandyport at midnight and was turning east onto West Bay Street when it collided with a white BMW that was traveling west. As you can see in this footage, both vehicles were severely damaged. The BMW crashed into a wall and the Maxima finally came to a stop in the median on West Bay Street. Knowles' lifeless body also lay in that median as traffic police processed the scene. Deputy Commander of the Traffic Division, Assistant Superintendent of Police Craig Stubbs, says speed was a factor in this fatal accident, and he believes Knowles was not wearing his seatbelt. ASP Stubbs and Knowles' grieving cousin, Anastasia Scavella, had these words for motorists.
Right now, this is shocking to us. He just had his 2 twins. They're not even a month yet, or just about a month, you know what I'm saying? Just lost our Grammy a few months ago. Right now, it's really hard to take in this. And Miko was not even driving, you know. He was the passenger of this vehicle and we lost him.
The Maxima was spun out of control and the front seat passenger was ejected. EMS personnel arrived on scene and pronounced the passenger as deceased. The drivers of both vehicles were transported to PMH.
She said Knowles was expected to attend a family gathering today to celebrate a relative's birthday, but family members will now gather to mourn his death. Our condolences go out to all the families that lost loved ones in traffic fatalities, and please remember